Now everyone, it's time to spread a bit of movie cheer.
Welcome to the Movie Cheer Podcast, the show for movie fans. And also welcome to Movie Cheer Fest 2, the 80s Movies edition, the 80s movie event podcast. And this is a special one. We did the first one about 2 years ago, and it's going to be a very special episode of the podcast today. It's myself, but I'm not alone today. I've come along with some special guest co-host collaborators, and I'm really looking forward to this. So today's headline topic is going to be discussing 80s movies. I've asked everyone who's going to be joining me on the show today to pick out 3 different 80s movies from 3 different genres. So it's going to be really cool. I'm really excited to share it with all of you, and I'm really just so happy with all the people I've got on board for this episode. It's going to be a cracking episode. It's going to be a bit of a longer one, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into today's headline topic for Movie Cheer Fest 2. It's a party. Let the party begin, ladies and gents. But before that really headline party hard topic hits, we'd like to start off I'd like to start the show off with a segment called What's Been on the Screen.
What's been on the screen? The screen. What's been on the screen?
What's been on the screen? What have I been watching over this past few weeks, ladies and gents? Well, first of all, I watched one recently this past week, and the movie is called Chef. It was a 2014 release, directed by Jon Favreau. He wrote the movie as well, and he also starred as the main guy in it. So the story of this movie is, Jon Favreau, just so if you've heard the name, you're probably maybe thinking, where's that name ring a bell? He's the guy, he's directed Iron Man. I think he directed the first 2 Iron Man movies. He's done a lot of Star Wars stuff. He's heavily involved in Mandalorian. I think he was like the co-creator of the Mandalorian. He directed the new Jungle Book, the Lion King movies. Big hitter in Disney now. But this was very much like an independent. I wouldn't say an independent release, but more less of a blockbuster release. This movie. Obviously, he plays Happy Hogan in the MCU as well. He's plays Tony Stark's bodyguard, advisor, best mate. So watch this movie. I heard of it years ago, Chef, and basically the premise of the story is Jon Favreau, he plays this celebrity chef, this well-known celebrity chef in real life, in this world, and basically he runs his restaurant, and he's waiting for this food critic to come up to him. And there are a few spoilers for the story ahead, ladies and gents, but basically this highly renowned food critic ends up giving him a bad review. Basically, because his manager, the owner of the restaurant, and let's just talk about the cast first. The owner of the restaurant is played by Dustin Hoffman. Very much a small role in this, but other cast members as well as Jon Favreau. You've got Sofia Vergara, from like Modern Family, John Leguizamo, if I'm pronouncing that right, Luigi from the live-action Mario Brothers movie, Scarlett Johansson, Robert Downey Jr. has a small role in this, so it's a really cool cast. And basically, the owner of the restaurant says to him, when this food critic comes along, you've got to just do the normal set menu. Don't do anything special. Whereas he wants to be creative and, be a creator and make this super special recipe and special, menu for this food critic who's coming. He doesn't. He sticks to the main menu because the owner says it. And then he gets an awful review, and it really frustrates him. And he basically ends up inviting the guy again, as like a Twitter war with him, and then he goes in and he just like has a big rant, and it's caught on camera, and it's on like all different news websites and everything. And basically then he basically just loses his job, decides to then get a food truck and start making Cuban food. And it is such a cool movie because it's very much like a road movie, a comedy drama, and it's such a fun movie. And personally, I would say, coming from the point of view, I was watching this and afterwards I was thinking, who would this appeal to, this movie? And I think it really appealed to myself because because I've done different creative endeavors over the years, been in bands, doing YouTube, doing short films and stuff like that. I feel like this is like, it really inspired me, because it was just like this idea of this guy, and then he ends up starting this food truck business, and it becomes super hugely popular. And I just thought it was a really inspiring movie watching it. I just thought I really enjoyed the story, a very human story as well, if like compared to, like I said, a lot of the blockbusters he starred and been involved in, directed. A very human story, and it was nice. It was a good feel-good story. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun movie, and yeah, it was just like, it's also in the story as well. You've got the interaction between him and his son, his young son, who comes on the food truck with him, and he starts showing him the ropes in this food truck, and it's really good. And I tell you what, it did inspire me to do, right. So early on in the movie, because I do love food, but I'm not much of a cook. But I was watching this movie, and he started making this grilled cheese sandwich for his son, and I'd never had one before. And I don't know if it's more of an American thing. I don't feel like it's like a thing over here as much in the UK. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are having these fairly regular, but I've never heard it to be a thing over here. And I watched it, and I was like, that looks absolutely delicious. And this is where a good movie can, hook you in. The food hooked me in. And I was watching it, I was like, man, I've got to go and eat something like that. So I paused the movie. I found a recipe on Google, and I had a look at some YouTube videos. Went downstairs, made a grilled cheese sandwich, because I was inspired by this movie. By the food, it was just like the food bits in it. You're just like, oh, that looks so delicious. Made a grilled cheese sandwich. Had it for the first time. Absolutely adored it. It was absolutely delicious. Beautiful. So. Really good movie though, written and directed. I feel like this is kind of like a bit of a hidden gem movie, because it feels like, I remember it being released, but it feels like it got lost in the shuffle. Whether it was maybe a Disney Plus release potentially, I'm not too sure. But a really good movie, this one, really highly rated. I think it's one I would definitely watch again. Really enjoyed it. Next up, the next movie I watched, and this again is another first time watch for me, was US Marshals. And this was a 1998 release. So we're going to the 90s now. Obviously today's headline topic will be the 80s, but we'll go to the 90s. 1998 US Marshals, starring Tommy Lee Jones. Again, you've got Robert Downey Jr. in there, Wesley Snipes. And this is actually a sequel, but also a standalone movie. It's a sequel to The Fugitive, which starred Tommy Lee Jones, the same character. His character was Sam Marshall, who's the deputy marshal, who's obviously going off after fugitives. Tommy Lee Jones is in this again. Harrison Ford is not, and apparently it references the first movie, but I have never seen The Fugitive. One I definitely want to be checking out at some point. I've heard many great things about The Fugitive, but yeah, US Marshals, I'd heard it was a decent movie, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Very much like a crime thriller. Great movie, great story throughout. I think Wesley Snipes is great. Robert Downey Jr. is fantastic in this as well. And you think as well, it's weird, because I was looking at his filmography, Robert Downey Jr. and the movies, and like the span of his career is, obviously he making movies in the 80s, and then like Chaplin was 1992. I thought that was kind of later on. That was 92, and he obviously won awards for that, I'm pretty sure. And then 1998, I know obviously he had personal things going on, personal problems. I think he kind of 1998 wasn't, maybe, I don't know whether he was doing as much, but then obviously since Iron Man hit then, and then Oppenheimer, he's just his career, he's had such a long career, and he's a great actor. I really do like Robert Downey Jr. I think it's rare that I've seen a film with him in that I've not enjoyed. Even in, like I said, A Chef, he was a very small role, but I enjoyed his role in that. In this, I think he plays a great... so he basically plays a Secret Service guy in this. They're going after Wesley Snipes' character, who's on the run as a fugitive. Tommy Lee Jones is assigned to, go after him with his team, but then Robert Downey Jr.'s character comes in, and he's enforced to, join the task force, because Wesley Snipes' character is involved in this... this crime against a Secret Service agent, to some of the people he worked with. And then you see this really good story unravel. I think it's a really solid movie, a really good drama. What I will say it did for me, I felt like it had a bit of a slow middle, this movie. I don't know how you feel about this. I felt the middle of the movie was a bit slow. It felt like a bit like maybe it went off the boil a bit. But I will say, the finale, when it hit to, the final round, bam, that was ace. The finale was great, and I feel like just the final act was solid, absolutely solid. So I really enjoyed this one. I'm definitely going to be checking out The Fugitive as well. But that's what's been on my screen this past week. Now let's move on to today's headline topic.
The Movie Cheer Podcast presents the headline topic for the episode.
Remember to spread a bit of
Headline topic. Headline topic.
Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer.
So today's headline topic, and it is a Movie Cheer Fest 2 topic, and it is 80s movies. As I said in the intro, I've asked every one of my special guest co-hosts today, co-collaborators, to choose 3 80s movies and 3 80s movies from different genres as well. Myself included, I'm going to do 3 throughout the show as well. And yeah, why the 80s? I love the 80s as an era of movies, a decade of movies. I think, movies, music, but just movies, let's just keep it to movies. I think it's just, action, sci-fi. There's so many great choices. And if I'm being honest, and probably everyone involved with today's episode would probably agree, it's been really hard choosing 3 movies, and there's definitely some big hitters we've probably all missed off because you can only pick 3 movies. So, feel free to leave, definitely leave your choices below as well in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on, best 80s movies. But let me give you my first choice anyway, ladies and gents. I want to get to the first choice, which is 1987, and we go with Lethal Weapon. Mel Gibson, Danny Glover. First of all, I love this movie. I think it's one of my favourite action movies of all time. I think it's a solid movie. I love just the dynamic of Riggs and Murtaugh. So for me, it's an action movie. Action comedy, I suppose. More, I'd say action with Lethal Weapon. And yeah, Mel Gibson's great in it as Riggs, just like this unhinged cop who's buddied up with his new partner, which is Murtaugh, who is just kind of like a very steady cop. And just seeing that dynamic between the two of them, it is great. I love all 4 movies. I think it's one of my favourite franchises out there, Lethal Weapon. I remember watching it for the first time, and I think it was like the first time since I was like a kid watching it. I probably watched it as a kid, didn't really enjoy it as much, but then watched it again in like my teenage years and really just enjoyed it. Just like, I remember watching it and just thinking like, wow, how have I not watched these in years? Because they're so good. And since that point, I've just really loved that series. I think it's a cracking series. Yeah, Lethal Weapon for me, it is great. I just think Riggs is pretty much like Rambo in that first movie. He's just so, he's such a live wire. And then, like I said, put him with Murtaugh, it's just some great comedy moments, but some great action scenes as well in the top movie. And that's my first choice of 80s movie. But now, let's get to the special guest co-host of today's episode. And first, we're going to start off with Ben, aka Rider Rated 18. Now, Ben is he's got an awesome Instagram page. He's been on the channel many times before. We've had some cracking discussions. Firstly, over Laserdisc. I joke, I said he's the Lord of the Laserdisc, but it's true. That guy is a Lord of the Laserdisc. But we've had 2 great discussions on Laserdisc on the channel, which I've really enjoyed because Ben is just so knowledgeable of the format. And it's always been great to hear his thoughts and just hear, what he knows about Laserdisc, because I'm very much like, I never knew much about the genre, about the format. So it was always good to hear that. But Ben's a top guy. He's been on different collaborations we've done over the years on the channel. Top bloke. He's got a great Instagram page showing his movie collection as well. I think he's a great guy, and I can't wait for you all to hear his choices. So here goes to Ben.
Hello AP, Rider Rated 18 coming at you, and thank you for inviting me for Movie Cheer Fest 2. You requested all of us to pick 3 80s movies, 3 different genres. And so yeah, let's get right into it. So I've gone through the shelves and picked out 3 choices. So yeah, so for the first one, I'm going to go with an 80s comedy, and it is A Fish Called Wanda from 1988, starring John Cleese, Michael Palin, Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline. One of my all-time favourite comedies. This is just so much fun. All shot on location in London. It makes great use of London City Centre and also Heathrow Airport as well. But the best way to describe it is probably the back synopsis. So yeah, for those that may not be aware of what A Fish Called Wanda is, yeah, John Cleese plays Archie Leach, a weak-minded, sort of bumbling barrister who finds himself embroiled with a quartet of ill-matched jewel thieves. Two American con artists played by Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Kline, Michael Palin's animal-loving hitman, and London gangster Tony Georgeson. But when Georgeson is arrested, only he and Palin know the whereabouts of the diamonds. And this promptly comes up with a farce of infighting as well as some embarrassing nudity and the unfortunate demise of some innocent pooches. That's pretty much all I can probably say, because if I say anything else, it'll spoil it, because there's so many good gags in here. And it's no surprise that Kevin Kline actually won Best Supporting Actor in '88 for his performance in this film. It's absolutely crazy. There's so many misunderstandings, a lot of arguing. And yeah, just to see sort of 80s London in all its glory. Highly recommended. And you got, two classic Pythons here, Cleese and Palin, in their absolute prime, doing a great job. And this was also written by John Cleese as well, and it was directed by Charles Crichton. And yeah, if you've never seen it, definitely check out A Fish Called Wanda. A very proper English comedy from the 80s. So yes, highly recommended. And if you can find it on the Arrow Blu-ray here, probably the best version to watch it. So for the next genre, I'm going to go with action, and I go with an all-time classic, Tango and Cash, starring Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. One of my all-time favourites. There's so many good ones from the 80s, but it's very hard to pick one. But I thought I'd go with Tango and Cash because, as far as I know, this was officially the last 80s action film, because this came out in December 1989. So I think that qualifies it as the last 80s action film. So basically, yeah, Stallone plays Ray Tango, and Kurt Russell plays Gabe Cash, and they're basically after the same thing, but then they get embroiled in a setup set up by the main villain, and then they get put down into prison for this crime that they didn't commit, and then they realise that they've got to work together, so they've got to bust out of prison, and then they've got to take down these bad guys themselves. And there's just so many one-liners in this, so many great action scenes, a phenomenal score by Harold Faltermeyer as well. It's the quintessential action movie from the 80s. I mean, you can say that about a lot of 80s action films, but this one is definitely up there. You got Terry Hatcher as the sort of love interest, and Ray Tango's younger sister. A very crazy villain, and a very crazy over-the-top hitman as well, and just everything you want from an 80s action film is in here. Car chases, explosions, music, a lot of one-liners and a lot of comedy as well. A good mix match of everything that you want. So yeah, I'd recommend Tango and Cash, And if I'm ever really having a bad day, it's one of those sort of comfort movies I can put on. If I'm really sort of feeling a bit down, always put on Tango and Cash and feel so much better. So yeah, the action. And then finally, I go for a science fiction 80s film, and I've gone with The Wraith from 1986. This stars Charlie Sheen, Nick Cassavetes, Randy Quaid, and Sherilyn Fenn. And basically what it is that Charlie Sheen's character was murdered by this gang of road pirates, but then he's brought back to life as a cosmic spirit, a wraith, given another chance. And you can say that this is very similar to The Crow from 1994, but this came out in 86, so I don't know whether The Crow came before this, or whether or not the story came before it. I have no idea, but it's basically the same idea. But Charlie Sheen's character, Jamie, he's come back as this sort of weird sort of looking sort of entity with, he's got black body armor and sort of a motorsport helmet on, and he's driving this Turbo Interceptor car, and he basically takes out all of these road pirates in these street races where he basically just kills them one at a time, and it is just so satisfying to see these bad guys get their comeuppance. You got the beautiful Sherilyn Fenn in this in all of her 80s glory. Randy Quaid is the sort of town sheriff, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. He's not sure what he believes. But what this movie does very well in terms of its 80s-ness is its soundtrack. There are so many good pieces of music in here. You got music from Robert Palmer, Ozzy Osbourne, Lion, Stan Bush. So many good songs in this, and some excellent car chases as well. Some of the car stunts in this are absolutely world class. Some of the best you'll ever see. It's a very good time, and a bit underrated. Not many people know about The Wraith. It had this recent Blu-ray release. It wasn't really available for many years in the UK. But yeah, so I'd go with The Wraith for science fiction. So yeah, science fiction, The Wraith. For action, go with Tango and Cash. And for comedy, I'd go with A Fish Called Wanda. Take care, AP. I'll see you soon. Bye.
Excellent choices from Ben there. A Fish Called Wanda, Tango and Cash, and The Wraith. Now, I watched The Wraith recently this past week, and I think, Ben mentioned it in the video, it's got a very similar vibe to, it's kind of like to The Crow. I was watching this and it was like it definitely reminded me of The Crow a bit. That movie, it was a fun movie. I quite enjoyed that movie. It's one I'd never heard of before as well. The Charlie Sheen movie. Charlie Sheen only feels like he's in that for a bit because a lot of the time it's like the car and the suit. I'd love to know how much screen time Charlie Sheen's character actually gets in the movie. But yeah, it reminded me. It's like a cross between The Crow meets Footloose meets Knight Rider. Kind of right. It really is. It's an over-the-top movie. But yeah, it's a fun movie. Definitely worth checking out. But yeah, great choices from Ben. And now we move on to the next special guest co-host today. And we go to Ash from Popcorn and Horror. Ash is a top guy. He's got a great YouTube channel. I chat to Ash a lot about, he shares his movie collections and his videos and explores different movie-related topics as well on his channel. He's got a great collection, great channel, and he's just, he knows his movies, and he's just a really sound guy as well. So let's hear Ash's choices.
Hey everyone, so firstly I'd like to say thank you to AP from the Movie Cheer channel just to invite me along and give a little clip video here of my sort of 3 movies, probably favourite movies from the 80s of 3 different genres. So yeah, with that said, let's get my 3 movies in. So the first movie I want to pick is from the sci-fi genre, and that is 1987's Robocop. Yeah, I know this one's probably going to come up a few times on an 80s list, but for me, this was the first movie that I picked up that was an 18 certificate. I bought it on VHS for $3.99 from a shop called MVC, Music and Video Club. So yeah, way back in the day, I remember I was with my dad, I found the cover, I saw it, and I thought, wow, that looks amazing. Knew nothing about it, apart from obviously it was a cop that was a robot, and that is all I needed at the age of like 12 or 11, wherever I was when I found this thing. So I spent my pocket money of $3.99 on this thing, took it back home, watched it, scared the life out of me when the kill scene comes on. But absolutely loved it, and to this day I still love this movie. It's such a fantastic film. So yeah, that is my first pick in the sci-fi genre for Robocop. So my next pick would be in the genre of drama, I guess is where this one would come in the most. And this one is from 1984, and it is the original The Karate Kid. So yeah, this one was a big one on my sort of VHS tapes. I used to have this in the player so many times. I even did karate lessons based on this one back in the day. Did about 5 and then gave it up. But it had that much of an impact on me. I wanted to go out and explore this world of karate. Absolutely loved it. I loved the sequel as well, number 2, even number 3. But the first one there from 1984 is definitely one of my all-time favourites in the drama genre from the 1980s. So that's number 2 on my list, The Karate Kid. So the 80s just happens to be probably the decade of films that has my favourite movie of all time in. So this is going to have to be the one, and this one will come under the fantasy genre. So for the fantasy genre, 1986 is The Labyrinth. Absolutely love this movie. This was definitely the most played movie I had in my player as a kid growing up. I must have watched this hundreds of times by now, and every time I watch it, I still see something different somewhere in that movie. Either something in the background, something I didn't notice before, some of the dialogue somehow I didn't quite pick up on as a kid growing up, and it means something different as you get older. I just love the actual practical effects in here, the creatures, the actual imagination it took to design this whole thing. The songs in there as well. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, I could do probably an hour-long video on this thing, but I know I want to keep this short for AP, so we're going to go with my top pick from the 1980s in the fantasy genre is The Labyrinth. That's it. Hope you enjoyed my picks, and back to AP.
Top choices from Ash, and yeah, Robocop, Karate Kid, and Labyrinth. All fantastic movies. And I will say, first of all, Karate Kid, Ash mentioned he took up lessons and karate lessons after watching Karate Kid for the first time as a kid and give up after like 5 lessons. Ash reminds me of this. So I ended up buying, this is not when I was a kid, this is when I was about 16, 17. I ended up watching the Karate Kid again, maybe after a few years not watching it. And so, in the movie, he buys like the book and he starts learning karate originally from the book, doesn't he? From like a Karate Kid book, I'm pretty sure. I ended up buying up a Karate Kid book, and it was this huge, like thick book. It must have been like 1 inch, 2 inches wide, this book, and never read it for about 5 minutes, and it was just one of them books that was just sitting in my wardrobe for years. But I was just like so inspired by this movie, like Ash, to take up karate. I get that with certain movies, certain movies I watch and I'm like, oh man, I watch Rocky, I want to become a boxer. I watch Rambo, I want to just become Rambo. Watching Karate Kid, I wanted to become the Karate Kid, and it is a top film. But also Labyrinth as well. Labyrinth is one I never used to be super keen on growing up. My sister used to be really into Labyrinth. Never really liked, but then as the years have went on, I've really enjoyed Labyrinth, and it's such a magical movie. It kind of reminds me of if you ever watch Spirited Away, it's like a not a live action adaptation of that, but it kind of feels like that same sort of feel to it, that you just you go into this magical world. It's just so surreal, and it just you want to sit in it, you want to live in it because it looks so cool. And Labyrinth's great. It's great music. Bowie's ace. Top choices from Ash. Really like those. Next we go to Philip Coghill. Now Philip has been again, a guy who's been involved in many different videos over the years on the channel. A great guy, top collaborator on the channel as well. I really enjoy doing videos and doing live streams with Philip. And he's got a great channel as well. He's got an awesome... it's a running theme here, but everyone's got great channels, and I say this because they genuinely have. Philip's got a cracking channel. He's got a great collection. I love hearing his thoughts on movies, and I also love hearing him because Philip... Often he'll bring a movie to the play where I'm like, I've never heard that. I'm watching, I'm like, wow, that was an awesome movie. And he's given me so many different recommendations over the years where I've watched them and been like, wow, that's an awesome movie. So I can't wait to hear his choices today. Let's go to Philip.
Hello, and welcome to my segment of the video. So, top 3 films from the 1980s, each one in a different genre. We'll start off with a drama. This is my favourite film from the 80s. In fact, it's one of my 10 favourite films, full stop. I love this film. I'll show you how much I love it. I have it on both Blu-ray and Laserdisc. Amadeus. I've never actually watched the Laserdisc. I don't have a Laserdisc player. But, Amadeus, kind of partly a biopic of Mozart, partly a historical fiction. For a 3-hour... costume drama about classical music, it's really entertaining. You think on paper it'd be really dry, really pretentious, but no, it's a really entertaining film. Very, very funny actually. The guy who plays Mozart in this, Tom Hulce, is hilarious. He's great in this. And just on a filmmaking level too, it's a masterpiece. I think this is genuinely one of the best films ever made. It's fantastic. And if you're wondering, this is the director's cut. If you're wondering which cut I prefer, the theatrical cut or the director's cut, I've only ever seen the director's cut, so I can't comment on which version's better. But, either way, Amadeus is amazing. Next is a science fiction film. We have Flash Gordon. Now, there were a lot of really good science fiction films that came out in the 80s. So you're probably all thinking, why of all the sci-fi films from the 80s did he pick Flash Gordon? Well, for me, this is an incredibly rewatchable film. Most films, even if I really like them, I kind of have to be in the mood to watch them again, but this I can just stick on whatever mood I'm in, whatever time of the day, and just enjoy it. It's incredibly rewatchable for me. In fact, there have been a couple of times, and I've watched it and then watched it again straight afterwards, and I still enjoyed it the second time just as much, even though I just watched it. So for me, this is probably if I was stuck on a desert island and I could only watch one film for the rest of my life, it would be Flash Gordon, because I never get bored of it. So yeah, Flash Gordon. And finally, we have an animated kids film, The Land Before Time. So this was probably, aside from the first Toy Story film, this was probably my favourite film as a child. I had it on VHS and I used to watch that tape over and over and over again. I loved this film. The scene where Littlefoot's mum dies, I used to cry watching that every time. I cried just as much as the first time. It really would emotionally affect me, that scene. And yeah, it's just a film that I really have a lot of affection for, that has a special place in my heart. And watching it as an adult, I can see there are better, animated films out there. But in terms of sheer, nostalgia, this film is very hard to beat for me. And Never saw any of the sequels. No, I tell a lie, I did see one of them. There's like 12 of them, I think. There's 13 Land Before Time movies. I saw one of the other ones, didn't really care for it, and from what I've heard about the rest of the films, I haven't really missed out by not seeing them either. So, yeah, don't really care about the sequels, but the original is a film I adore. Well, that's my list. I hope if you haven't seen any of these, I've persuaded you to watch them, and I look forward to seeing everyone else's choices when the video comes out. So I will see you all later.
Top choices from Philip. So we had Amadeus. So there was the Mozart biopic. I'm definitely going to be checking that out. I think that sounds really cool. Flash Gordon and The Land Before Time. First of all, Flash Gordon, I will say 100% agree with Phil. It is a movie that is just a super rewatchable movie. You can watch that movie over and over again. I hadn't watched it in years, and I remember watching it a few years back again, and kind of didn't really have much nostalgia for the movie. Watched it, and I thought, wow, it's a cracking sci-fi movie. First of all, I think then you throw in the Queen soundtrack as well, which I'm a big Queen fan, but it's just a really good movie, and like Phil said, just one you can rewatch over and over again. Really a great film. The Land Before Time, that is an animated movie that I feel like I recall growing up, but I don't know whether I've seen it or maybe I've seen it and I can't really recall it that well. So again, two movies there that I really want to rewatch, give a watch to. So yeah, great picks from Phil. Really enjoyed them. Now let's move on to our next special guest co-host, and we go to Scott, the movie critic. And Scott is he's just a really sound dude. Scott, I've been watching his channel the past few years, past year or two, and more importantly, I watch his live streams. He's been on different people's live streams, but then he's for a long time hosted his own live stream, and he's a great host. His videos are excellent as well. Just hearing about his choices, his passion for music, his passion for film, his passion just for collecting stuff he enjoys. I love hearing that, and that's why I really enjoy watching his videos. You can see the passion in him. He really enjoys the stuff he collects, and it's just great to hear what he enjoys and the movies he likes and the music he likes. And I will say this, I went on Scott's channel earlier this year, and when he was doing the live streams, and I went on with him and the rest of the lads, and I said this to all of them afterwards, and said this to Scott. I think he's a great host, and I think I'd never laughed so much in such a long time, because we just had a cracking night. It was just such a laugh. We had a great laugh all night. It was just, honestly, my face by the end of the night was just like, I could hardly move my jaw. My jaw was just like, because I was laughing too much, and my eyes were just watering, because we had such a great time, good laugh. He's a top guy, and I can't wait to hear his movie choices. So let's go to Scott.
Hello everyone, it's Scott, a movie critic here, and today I've been asked to take part in a collaboration video. It's been a while since I've taken part in one of these, and today it's going to be for the legend that is AP with Movie Cheer Podcast. Mate, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. I really do appreciate it. You're an absolute wonderful guy and have an absolutely fantastic channel, and today he's asked us to talk about three of our favourite films from the 80s, but there has to be one from three different genres. So I think this is an absolutely cracking idea, very different, very unique, and yeah, let's just get into three of my favourites. So first up, I decided to go with Scarface. What an absolutely amazing film. Obviously this is a gangster film, obviously a lot of action in there as well, but I'm going to choose this specifically as a gangster film. Yeah, absolutely fantastic film from the 80s. I watched this sort of like Boxing Day, I think it was. I got it for Christmas one year. I think I was about 12 years old or so. And yeah, this was the first film that I sort of watched that really, really blew me away. It made me realise, like, wow, this is what cinema is all about. This is just such a wonderful film from start to finish. Al Pacino as Tony Montana is an absolute badass. He's just such a cool character. The acting's brilliant. I love the music in this film. It goes so well with the film. And yeah, the action is absolutely phenomenal, and it is amazing. It is definitely in my top three favourite films from the 80s, that's for sure. Yeah, absolutely brilliant film. Love it. Next up, I've gone for a horror film, and it is The Shining, I forgot to mention this, but AP did say, talk about memories and why you like him so much as well. But yeah, I absolutely love this film. It is absolutely fantastic. Spoken about it many times before, but my first introduction to this was sort of like through my uncle. Saw a poster up on his bedroom wall a while back. This was years ago now, and yeah, it was such a cool poster. It was with one way he has the sort of axe and he's through the wall and he goes, "Here's Johnny." Yeah, it was that poster, but yeah, such a cool poster as well. Really like that artwork. But first introduction, sort of seeing any of The Shining, was when I was very, very young age, and it was on a advertisement sort of channel. I can't remember what channel it was. It might have been ITV or Channel 4. It sort of came on as an advertisement late on one evening, and it absolutely terrified me. It scared me to death, and I didn't see it for years after seeing that. But yeah, it wasn't until maybe 2018 when I first watched it for the first time, and again, absolutely blew me away. This is one of the scariest horror films I've ever seen. And yeah, Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance is absolutely terrifying in this film. He really is scary. I think the best thing I love about this film is just the atmosphere. I love creepy atmosphere. Well, I'll go for atmosphere rather than jump scares any day of the week for sure. And this has a lot of great creepy atmosphere in this film. It's just such a great horror film. It's so chilling. And yeah, Shelley Duvall, sorry, gives an amazing performance in this film. Rest in peace to her. She was an amazing actress. Such a shame when she passed away a couple of weeks back. Yeah, absolutely devastating loss. But this film is absolutely chilling. It is fantastic. And the last one up is, I've gone with a sport film, and of course it is Rocky 3. My favourite film from the 80s. It is absolutely fantastic. I don't know what I can say about this film I haven't said already, but it is my favourite Rocky film of the film series. And yeah, grew up watching it since I was about 3 years old. Always been my favourite alongside with Rocky 4, but as I've gotten older, I think this is definitely my number one favourite now. Yeah, seen it so many times, and it was due to this film and Rocky thought made me want to become a boxer when I was younger. Obviously that never happened, but yeah, it was because of this film and Rocky thought made me want to be a boxer when I was really, really young. And yeah, just so many great one-liners, so many great quotes. Dead meat. And I donate by Bob, pretty full. Obviously, Mr. T is Clubber Lang, absolutely cracking villain. Absolutely love it. And of course, it has the eye of a tiger, man, as the edge. Again, brilliant performance from Carl Weathers. Rest in peace to him as well. That was another devastating loss for me. But yeah, I just absolutely love this film. That song, Eye of a Tiger, is one of the greatest 80s songs. It's the Eye of a Tiger, it's the thrill of the fight. Yeah, absolutely love it. Stonewall 80s classic. And yeah, this film is just so entertaining. The fight scenes are brilliant. I love the training montage as well. And yeah, it's just such a cool 80s film and one of the most entertaining films I've ever seen. So there is Rocky 3, and there we have it, everyone. Hope you've all enjoyed. Again, massive thank you to AP for inviting me on this collaboration video. Really do appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed looking at my pics there, definitely. So yep, and that'll do, everyone, and I'll take care, everyone, and I'll see you all later.
So there we have it, Scott's choices, and we have Scarface, The Shining, and Rocky 3. First of all, Scarface, yeah, top movie. And I know Scott is also a wrestling fan like myself, a huge wrestling fan. What I like as well, with Scarface, years later now, realising that Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, his character, Razor Ramon, was inspired by Scarface. So say hello to the bad guy. That was really, really bad, wasn't it? But yeah, rate my Razor Ramon impression. I've been working on it as well. I'm really bad with impressions. But I will say Scott's impressions are great. I like his Clubber Lang, his Mr. T. Very, very good. Very good impression. But yeah, The Shining is one. I watched that. I only watched it for the first time recently, and I think for me, I'm not a big horror guy, and it was. If I'm being honest, I really, there's a lot in that movie. I'm kind of like, I feel like I need to rewatch this again to fully grasp the story and what's going on with the story. Because I remember mentioning this to a friend recently, and it was like there were certain bits of the movie I didn't really understand. So I really do need to give The Shining another watch, because I know it's a very much a beloved horror movie for a lot of people. So one I'm definitely going to be checking out again. Yeah, Scarface is brilliant, but Rocky 3, how can you go wrong? Rocky 3 is an excellent choice from Scott. Absolutely excellent. I think it is I think it is the best one in the franchise. It is truly a top film, really top film. I really enjoy that one, and the soundtrack. I think as well, because Rocky's such like at that point he thinks he's the best, but in reality he's not that good, and then it's like goes back down to zero again, and then right back to the top again. Top choices from Scott. Really appreciate him joining us for this for these picks. So now I'm going to go to another movie choice for myself. And I'm going to go through to this movie here. Dustin Hoffman, Jessica Lange in Tootsie, 1982 movie release. And this is a very good film. If you've never watched it, I think this is in the genre of comedy for me, comedy drama. Dustin Hoffman is like this actor. He's trying to, working in theatre. He's trying to break through as an actor, but he just can't catch that lucky break. And then he ends up dressing up as a woman, Dorothy Michaels, and he ends up getting cast on this like TV soap opera, this hospital soap opera. Becomes hugely popular, but no one realizes it's actually a bloke. And it's such a great film, because Dustin Hoffman as Tootsie is great. It's just like, is it Dorothy Michaels? No, my name is Dorothy Michaels. That's my Tootsie impression. I should make a vow for the rest of this episode not to do any impressions. But yeah, I think Tootsie is a really good film. It's got a great soundtrack. I think it is a really 80s movie. But yeah, one I really, really do enjoy for sure. Next, we go to another. Next up, we've got Jack from Bring Your Own Popcorn, and Jack is. I've been watching his channel for quite a while, and he's got a great YouTube channel, and he was looking for collaborators for a special collaboration episode on his podcast, on his YouTube channel recently, and he kindly asked me, would you want to come on and do a collaboration, and he had a few different people involved in a special episode on his channel, and I had a really great time doing it. First of all, it was really cool to be asked, and to be featured on such a cool episode as well was awesome. Jack's got a great channel though. He's basically also recently launched it as like a podcast as well on the YouTube channel, which is really cool. Probably similar vibe to what we do. We do normal videos on this channel, but also do the podcast episodes, which I think is really cool. So yeah, I want to hear. Let's get to Jack and hear his choices.
Hello everybody, it's Jack from Bring Your Own Popcorn here, and I've been asked by my good friend AP from the Movie Cheer podcast to come on and talk about 3 of my favourite 80s films. But each film that I talk about needs to be of a different genre. Man, this was difficult, The 80s is probably my favourite decade for film. Just so many great films came out in the 80s, and it was really difficult trying to whittle it down to just 3, but I've managed to do it after a lot of tears and a lot of pain of writing about 20 films down and having to whittle it down to just 3. I've managed to do it. The first film I'd like to talk about is probably one that at least one person has already mentioned in this video, and that is The Empire Strikes Back. I couldn't talk about the 80s without mentioning at least one Star Wars film, and The Empire Strikes Back is my personal favourite Star Wars film. I just absolutely adore this movie. I love the world building in it. I think it's fantastic. Maybe the best world building in the entirety of Star Wars. The locations are really cool. Cloud City is probably one of my favourite Star Wars locations. It just looks visually very nice. The film's really well directed, and everything really pops about the movie. It just looks visually splendid. All the characters are great, looks amazing, and the story that he goes on in this film, slowly becoming a Jedi, and all the stuff with Han and Leia and Lando on Cloud City is just absolutely amazing. The betrayal that goes on there is just heartbreaking every time, and the scene where Han gets frozen in carbonite is just absolutely excellent in my opinion. And obviously you've got the iconic I'm Your Father scene from this film, and yeah, does cinema get much better than that? So yeah, Empire Strikes Back is definitely one of my favourite sci-fi films from the 80s. The next film that I'd like to talk about is probably one that hasn't been mentioned in the video so far, because it's a very, I was going to say underrated, but it does get good reviews, and that is Local Hero from 1983. This film has such a special place in my heart. It is a beautiful movie. A lot of people haven't seen it, and if you haven't seen it, you must check it out. It's so good. Bill Forsyth writes and directs the film, and he is an absolute master at creating the melodrama. He is amazing at it. I love the comedy in this film. It's a very quirky movie. All the characters are very unique, very quirky. They all have their little things that are quite strange, quite peculiar about them. And yeah, I just love the way Forsyth writes these characters. And the story is just a timeless one. It is just pure timeless. It is such a heartwarming story. And yeah, I just absolutely adore this film. Such a magical movie for me. And it's beautifully directed. Some of these shots, man, they look so good. The film stars Peter Riegert and Peter Capaldi, who you probably know as the 12th Doctor from Doctor Who, and yeah, they're amazing. And also Burt Lancaster's in it, and he's fantastic. All the cast are absolutely brilliant. And the last film I'd like to talk about, and I had to mention this one, seeing as it's my favourite film of all time, that is The Karate Kid from 1984. Man, I adore this film with all my heart. In terms of 80s films, it doesn't get more 80s than this. The music, the outfits, just the way the film looks is just so incredibly 80s. It is another timeless tale about this kid who meets a mentor in the most unlikely place, and they just form this beautiful friendship. And yeah, I just absolutely adore The Karate Kid with all my heart. And it gets beautifully directed by John G. Avildsen. He gets it just right. And all the performances are great. Ralph Macchio is fantastic as Daniel. And Pat Morita steals the show as Mr. Miyagi, who is one of my favourite characters in cinema history. It tells a really beautiful romance. There are some really emotional scenes, especially towards the later half of the movie. There are some real emotional moments. And the ending is maybe one of the best endings of all time. If you haven't seen The Karate Kid, please watch it. It is absolutely incredible. So thank you again, AP, for letting me in your video, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Top picks from Jack. First of all, Empire Strikes Back, Local Hero, and Karate Kid. First of all, the first time Star Wars gets a mention in this episode. We couldn't do an 80s episode without discussing Star Wars, so I'm so glad that Jack mentioned that and shared his memories of that movie. Local Hero is one I've not heard of, but one I will certainly be checking out. It sounds cool. And we have, Karate Kid. Jack put it really well there. I think it is one of the best endings of a movie. It feels like it goes up to 11 at some point in that movie, the end, and it's just like, really just like the music, the rise, the anticipation, and then just like, boom, so uplifting, so amazing of an ending. Great choices from Jack. And now we go to another special guest co-host. We go to Sean, aka Media Collector Madness. Sean has been a huge part of this channel over the years. He's been featured on many different live streams, different collaboration videos. We've done episodes. He's got a great channel as well. He really enjoys his movies, and he's a big, huge wrestling fan like myself. Really, so pleased to have Sean again. It's so nice having different people come back and being involved again and again in different collaborations over the years. And it's so nice because Sean's like everyone here, really valued member of this community, and I'm pleased to have him on board for this episode. So let's go to Sean's choices.
Hi, this is Sean from Media Connector Madness, and I've been asked to pick 3 movies from the 80s for AP and the Movie Cheer podcast for Movie Fest 2. I was happy to be part of Movie Fest 1. Can't believe it's been that long. So I've picked 3 films. So the first one, I've gone with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Part animation, part normal movie, starring Bob Hoskins and Christopher Lloyd. This was one of my favourite movies growing up. This was in 1988. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. And Christopher Lloyd terrified me in this one when I was younger. So yeah, all good. The second movie, in 1987, Spaceballs, the movie, directed by Mel Brooks, a parody movie. Very funny, starring John Candy and Rick Moranis. And Rick Moranis is definitely the standout as Darth Helmet. Very funny, well worth watching if you've never seen it. Probably a film that will never get made again, but politically incorrect and awesome, very funny, well worth checking out. So in 1988, for the horror, I've gone for Beetlejuice, starring Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder. This is about my level of horror that I can watch. Very funny. Michael Keaton's definitely the standout, and as Beetlejuice 2 is coming out very soon, I thought I'd put Beetlejuice 1 into the mix. Very, very good. Effects obviously limited as it was 1988, but very good film. Well worth a watch. So that's it. Thank you very much, and see you all again soon.
Excellent choices there from Sean. We had Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Spaceballs, and Beetlejuice. Three very, different types of genres there. First of all, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? I think that would be my pick of these three. Such a great movie. Just like I spell for the time period, the effects on that are unreal. You watch it now. I watched it again this year, and I'm watching it. I'm like, this is so amazing. The visuals in that, having a live action character with these cartoon characters on screen, it is very, very good. Visually for the time. Compared, they didn't have the computers they have now, and it's a marvel, really, to be honest with you, when you watch that film. Great pick. Beetlejuice is, Spaceballs is one I've only watched once, and I need to give a rewatch. Beetlejuice, I said this to Sean, I watched it only once, and I wasn't super keen on it, but hearing so many people, like I said, who enjoy these movies and talk passionately about these movies, and with the new sequel coming out, I do like Tim Burton movies. I really do like Tim Burton's movies normally, so I'm definitely going to be giving it another watch after hearing Sean saying he highly recommends it, and so I'm definitely going to give it a watch so I can watch this new Beetlejuice movie coming out. I need to give it another try, don't I? Definitely need to. But yeah, great picks from Sean. Great. I'm glad to have Sean as well, a part of this episode. And now we move on to another special guest co-host, and we go to Gareth from Video Tasties. Now, I will say Gareth has got a really cool YouTube channel. He does watch-alongs on his channel, commentaries. He interviews directors, actors. Super cool channel, and a really nice guy as well, Gareth. I've been on the channel a few times on some of his live streams, his watch-alongs, and I really enjoyed it. It's been cool spending time with him and chatting with him about movies. What I really have enjoyed as well recently, and I've mentioned this to Gareth as well. I've sent him. I think he's a comedy genius, if I'm being honest. I think this guy's a comedy genius. He's been doing these shorts on YouTube and Instagram, stuff like that, called West Wales Video. And it's basically he's pretending to serve someone, like this POV camera. He's serving different customers, and he does it. He'll like pick people, subscribers, different channels, different Instagrammers, and he'll just. It's hard to describe it. So basically, it's him serving someone in this video shop called West Wales Video, and it is absolute comedy gold. I watched the first episode the other week, and I thought, this is comedy gold. This is hilarious. I was just laughing. I'm watching it, and he's done quite a few episodes now. They're only like 20 seconds, 30 seconds long each. Definitely check them out. They're on YouTube and Instagram. Highly recommend seeing it. If you've not watched them, check them out. But yeah, check out Video Taste as well. Great channel. Let's hear from Gareth, and let's hear his picks.
AP from the Movie Chair podcast has asked me to pick 3 films from the 80s from 3 different genres that I love. So we'll start with a comedy, The Naked Gun, which was based on the TV show Police Squad, which only lasted 1 season, unfortunately, So luckily they were able to make a film, or 3 films eventually. But this is one I saw in the cinema because I was 15 at the time. So this was 88. So yes, 15 at the time, and it's one of those ones I love it. Everything about it, the music by Ira Newborn, and I rented this a few times before I was able to buy it. And of course I've seen all 3 in the cinema now, thinking about it. Then my second choice had to be Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. Just about makes it, 89. So the last year of the decade. But this is one of my absolutely favourite films of all time. I do love Raiders and I do love Temple of Doom, but this one has got the most entertaining value just because of Sean Connery. But this was one I was very anticipating watching in 89 and loved it ever since. And then I picked a horror as well. Can't go wrong with Fright Night. Right in the middle of the decade, 85, written and directed by Tom Holland. And yes, starring Chris Sarandon, Wrigley Ragsdale, and Amanda Burst from Married with Children, which I also enjoyed in the 80s. But this poster is iconic. The film is great, a comedy and a horror, and does both really well in equal measures. It doesn't go too silly, and Roddy Mandel as Peter Vincent, maybe one of my all-time favourite horror characters. So there we go. That's my 3 choices. Thanks to AP for inviting me to do this, and thanks for watching. Here endeth the lesson.
Very cool picks there from Gareth, and yeah, we had Naked Gun, which is an excellent comedy, Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, which for me is the best movie in that franchise, excellent movie, and one of my favourite movies of all time, if I'm being honest, Last Crusade. And Fright Night is one I've only just watched recently for the first time, and I can't wait to watch it again over Halloween. I really enjoy that movie. I thought it was excellent. Top picks from Gareth. Now we go to Sammy G. Sammy G's World of Cinema. Sammy G has got a really good YouTube channel. He's on Instagram, YouTube. He's a guy that I've watched over the past year or so, maybe the past 2 years, on different people's live streams. And then more recently, over the past few months, started watching his YouTube channel, and he's got some great videos showing his movie collection and also his movies, and his passion for music as well, and collecting records. And he's got a really great collection of movies, and it's just good to hear his passions, share his movies, the music he enjoys, and yeah, he's got some great videos. I was also really pleased that recently he asked me to do an intro for one of his videos, which was really kind of him to ask, and it was really cool to be featured on one of his episodes as well. So check out his channel, but let's hear from Sammy G and let's hear his choices.
3 of my favourite 80s films. The first one is The Karate Kid, the original, one of my absolute all-time favourites. I think this is absolutely tremendous. That would make inroads for the rest of this film series, and then Cobra Kai, the spin-off series, which I've heard nothing but high praise about. And I remember watching this when I was 12. I just remember falling in love with this, and I've watched it countless times since. It's I love the friendship story in this film, and just the film that you really rooting for, like, the underdog to win and stuff, and just the whole training side to the movie is brilliant. Like the karate sequences is absolutely top draw in this. Great music as well, and great 80s aesthetic to this film. One of my absolute all-time favourites. Then we have The Shining, which is my favourite horror film of all time. I absolutely love this. I ever so slightly do prefer the book from Stephen King, but absolutely not to take away from this. This is absolute, some of the finest filmmaking I've ever seen. It is through the roof. The cinematography, Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance, as this sort of unhinged, to begin with, protagonist, but then an antagonist. And yeah, the whole, scenario with the Overlook Hotel is just, it's like it really sets the template for this paranoia and fear that happens inside this hotel. And the character work is just well written in this, and yeah, it's absolutely fantastically unexpected, some really eerie and creepy aspects that really tap into the movie throughout. And yeah, it is a Halloween staple of mine as well. I watch it every end of October. That is The Shining. And then we have my favourite Christmas film and like a fantasy film as well, and that's Gremlins. Yeah, it's always a Christmas Eve staple for me. My memory of this was I remember owning this when I was like 11 years old on DVD. I watched it in September, and then I didn't really know the film took place at Christmas, but then when I watched the film and realised it's set Christmas, I've watched it like either in November, but then it became more of a Christmas Eve tradition for me. I watch this every Christmas Eve. I just love the whole, you know, like fun and wackiness factor that this movie's got going for it. The whole thing about don't feed the gremlins after midnight concept, it is just so original and it's so fun and campy and just amazing fun-loving characters in this film. And yeah, the designs on the gremlins look really cool and again quite effective for its time as well. Great set designs as well. I love the whole iconic scene of the theatre, the movie theatre, and this is one of my favourite moments in this film and one of my absolute favourite movies of all time that I cherish for the rest of my days. So that's Gremlins.
So The Karate Kid, The Shining, and Gremlins, excellent choices there, Sammy G. First of all, I think Karate Kid and The Shining, that's the, you know, they seem like the big hitters in this episode, but definitely here. But Gremlins is a one, like Sammy said, it's one, to be honest, I've only watched Gremlins a few times, but you don't really think of it as like a Christmas movie, but that is one maybe over December I'll have to give a watch. One, like I said, I don't have much nostalgia for Gremlins. I didn't really watch it that much growing up. But the times I've watched it, I've kind of enjoyed it. I really have enjoyed that movie. But I think what I'm going to do this year, Sammy G's inspired me. I'm going to watch it over Christmas and give it another watch and, you know, really soak it in Gremlins. But Karate Kid, The Shining, 2 again, you know, Karate Kid is an excellent choice. Gremlins, cool choice. Shining, 1, I definitely want to check out. Excellent choices there from Sammy G. And yeah, I really appreciate Sammy G being involved in this episode. Now I'm going to give you my final 80s movie choice. And let's go for it. We have got here on the DVD Masters of the Universe, starring Dolph Lundgren and Frank Langella. Dolph plays He-Man, Frank Langella plays Skeletor. And yeah, 1987 movie, excellent film, science fiction, He-Man going into the real world to get the cosmic key, this like universal device that can transport you through the universe. Very, very much a cheesy movie. I was speaking to Keith from Euphoria Pictures recently about this, and I said to him, you know, we've shown a video about it, and a new release of it, and I said it is definitely a cheesy movie for sure. And I do have a lot of nostalgia for that. I ended up like naming my band. The band name was inspired by Masters of the Universe. And it's just one of them films I've always watched as a kid. That, along with Star Wars, is one of those I used to always watch science fiction movies. Loved it. Still to this day. I'm quite aware that it's not for everyone, but I really enjoy it. I think maybe it is nostalgia goggles, but I do really enjoy Masters of the Universe. I think it's a really cool 80s movie. Very, very much like 80s science fiction to a T, you know. It's most definitely. Next up, we go to Jay from Square Pegs. Now, Jay's been a part of the channel before on another collaboration. Jay has got a really, really cool video gaming channel. I'm really passionate about video games as well as movies. And Jay it's one of those channels I think I can't remember where it was recommended to me, but he's just got an excellent channel. He discusses different video game topics, you know, discusses different video game collections, and it's just a really, really cool video game channel that I can sit back. I could just binge like 10, 20 videos of Jay's videos because they're really enjoyable. I think he's a great host. He's got great knowledge of video games, and he's just a really cool guy as well. So I'm really happy to have Jay involved in another collaboration episode. And let's hear Jay's choices of movies.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jay here from Square Pegs, and while I'm usually talking about stuff like this, yeah, I love video games over on my channel, I am a child of the 80s. I am a product of that pop culture of the 1980s, and I would love to talk to you about 3 of my favorite movies from 3 separate genres. Now, first off, huge thank you to my boy for inviting me over here to the Movie Cheer podcast and having me take part. I am just ecstatic to be a part of this. I love AP. I think he's a great dude, and it is so cool to be here and to be on this channel talking about things I love. And I'm going to start off with one of my favorites, and this is from animation. Now, I'm counting animation as a genre. If you want to toss this into a different genre, that is on you. But for me, it counts. So we're going to go with a classic Disney animated feature, and one that doesn't get a ton of love, and that would be The Great Mouse Detective. Now, the reason I love The Great Mouse Detective is I am a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and this is a Disney retelling of the classic Sherlock Holmes story. You've got Basil of Baker Street as the mouse. You have unbelievable villains. It is just such a wonderful, just overall film. It had the first usage of CGI in a Disney animated feature as well, and that looked incredible. It is one of my favorites, something that I really still enjoy to this day, and unfortunately Disney kind of overlooks it. They don't really care about it anymore, but you know, that's neither here nor there. This is my list, and I'm talking about The Great Mouse Detective. Pivoting now to sci-fi, I'm kind of grouping paranormal in here as well, and I cannot go any further than Ghostbusters if I'm talking sci-fi and paranormal. This also works for comedy, of course, but we're going to have a comedy movie here in a minute. Ghostbusters was a touchstone moment for me. It was an absolutely just enthralling film that I wasn't expecting to love because I was a scaredy cat when I was a kid. I didn't like ghost stories, I didn't like scary movies, and I fully anticipated hating this one, but Ghostbusters to me was something that just bridged that gap brilliantly from being something that could have been absolutely frightening, like when that ghost first pops up in the library at the start of the movie, to being lighthearted, silly, and enjoyable. It was something that was just a fun movie to get into, and it's something that holds up to this day. Like, it is still the best Ghostbusters movie ever made, is the first Ghostbusters film. It was something where I was such a huge fan of it. It was something I couldn't wait to introduce my son to, and it's become just a family tradition. A staple of our family now is to watch Ghostbusters, and I love it to this day. Now, for genre 3, we're going with comedy. Now, I could have just gone with John Hughes as a genre, but that seems to be cheating as far as I'm concerned. So we're going with just comedy in general. And I want to talk to you about what is, outside of, I think, The Big Lebowski and High Fidelity, my favorite comedic film of all time. That is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Ferris Bueller was my introduction to the city of Chicago, a place that I adore to this day, that I love just the idea of classic Chicago. It featured unbelievable performances from everyone on the cast. The overall just mood of the film was light and happy and fun, and it just gave me an idea as a kid of what I thought high school was going to be like. Now, obviously, it wasn't that way, but to me, it was the ideal version of what life as an American teenager could be. Amazing, just like machines built by Ferris to trick his parents that he was sick. It was just such a fun film and such a wonderful overall just experience from top to bottom that I watch it once a year to this day. Those are my 3. What are yours? AP, back to you.
Awesome choices from Jay there. You know, we had The Great Mouse Detective, Ghostbusters, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The Great Mouse Detective, I said this to Jay, I'm pretty sure this is a movie I've watched before. One that I'll have to give a rewatch, because I'm sure I recall watching that at some point. Ghostbusters, I watched the more recent one, the Afterlife movie, not the very recent one, but that Afterlife a few years back. And I think that kind of made me enjoy the originals a lot more. I went back to the originals, rewatched them, and yeah, them original, especially that first one, is a superb film. Great movie, definitely the best one ever made as well. Cracking choice of a movie. And Ferris Bueller's Day Off, I've only ever watched it once, and Jay mentioned it is, you know, it's that idea of like the life as an American teenager, and it's probably is very different, but one I'll have to revisit, because it does feel like one of the movies that is very much like an American 80s movie classic that you have to watch, and one I will definitely be checking out again. So superb choices from Jay from Square Pegs. Now let's move on to our final special guest co-host for today's special episode of Movie Cheer Fest 2, and we go to Mike from Did You See That? And Mike is he's a top guy. Mike has got some great videos on his channel. He discusses movies, and he also has Z Talks as well, where he does like live streams. He has loads of different people involved. He's a great host, Mike. Been watching his live streams over the past couple of years, really, and He's an excellent host. He has some great live streams going on. And it's cool just watching his other videos as well, where he's discussing movies. No, what I know about Mike as well, he is a huge, and you will see it in this video, spoilers ahead, but Mike is a huge Back to the Future fan. And I am also a big fan of Back to the Future, but not to the degree Mike is like hardcore. He's got a tattoo, he's got loads of stuff, and I think that is so awesome. I think he's hugely passionate about that movie series and that movie. I love it. I think that is when I hear someone so passionate about a movie or just anything, and you can hear the passion in Mike when he discusses that movie, which is always great to hear. So let's go to Mike and let's hear his choices.
Yo, AP and everyone at Movie Cheer Podcast, what is going on? My name is Mike from Did You See That? If you can see my hoodie completely. And yeah, AP, thanks for the invite on my top 3 80s movies. Very hard to pick 3, of course, like everyone else who you've probably got in here. But I picked 3 movies that are different, but sometimes also kind of similar. And I didn't experience any of these movies in the 80s because I was born in 1990. So first up, we're going to talk about Class of 1984, which was released in 1982. Now, these are all kind of cyberpunk, kind of futuristic, sometimes dystopian also. We'll get into that as well. But this one is more of like a kind of a punk thriller movie. Really great movie. Didn't experience this for the longest time until I experienced it on streaming. Because, of course, my favourite movie is Back to the Future. And my favourite actor is Michael J. Fox. And I found out he starred in this. And I was like, yeah, hey, let's give this a chance. Class of 1984 is a brutal movie that would not be made today. But this is such a good time. Such a really rewarding and satisfying thriller. And the rivalry between the student and teacher is absolutely bar none. One of the best movies you're going to see from the 1980s, and a one that doesn't really get talked about that often, and I really wish it would. So that is my first choice. Second choice is a movie I saw for the first ever time in 2022 on the big screen for an anniversary, and that is Robocop. Now again, I said about future dystopian. This one is more kind of future apocalyptic, more set in the time frame where something like this would not exist in Class of 1984. Robocop is an absolutely bloody violent mess, especially the director's cut, the TV cut. I don't know, I've never watched it, have no intentions to, but again, this is another revenge based movie, but I class it more as sci-fi, of course, with being the Robocop and the Ed as well. Really, really good movie. Grows on me every single time that I check this one out. And I also think it's just a fun movie. Despite the runtime, it doesn't feel like a long movie. It doesn't get boring. There's no part of this movie where it drags in the storytelling whatsoever. It keeps you grossed. It keeps you entertained. And it makes you want to keep watching. I've never seen the sequels, but if it's anything to go by with this outing, 100%, I would be up for checking them out. But Robocop is a stellar movie. And finally, just mentioned it before as a little bit of a hint, my favourite movie ever, which is Back to the Future. My channel is inspired by Back to the Future design. I've got a Back to the Future tattoo, and this is just an absolute glorious movie. I first checked this out when I was about 15 years old. I watched it on the Sky TV channel here in the UK. First 15 minutes, absolutely loved it. I remember going out to the shops and I asked my mum, I was like, look, how can we get the DVD box set? We did. I binged them all, and ever since then, my love for this movie and franchise for that matter just continues to grow. As you guys can see, I've got like the Plutonium Case trilogy back there. I've got the Marty and the DeLorean. I've got so much memorabilia, guys. It's honestly crazy. But this is just a movie that has got so many great messages about tackling bullies, having confidence, stepping out of your shell, standing up to the big guy, even if you're like the little guy as well. Also, just the fact of just believing in yourself and helping friends, helping others. How Marty, tries to help Doc, and Doc helps Marty, although he doesn't know him in 1955. He is just a stranger at that point, but he still helps out this kid, and he still wants to send him back to the current timeline he's in 85, but back to the future. Honestly, the 80s is stacked with such great movies, but they're just 3 picks of mine that I really love. But let me hand it over to AP and continue the discussion. Thanks, AP, for having me on, man. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant choices from Mike there from Did You See That? And we had the class of 1984, we had Robocop, and we also had Back to the Future. I kind of knew Mike was going to pick Back to the Future, but I'm so glad he did, because it was nice to hear, like I said at the start of this video, to hear people's memories. And I said this to everyone who was joining me for this collaboration, to show your memories of the movies. And to hear Mike's memories of Back to the Future was so uplifting to hear, if I'm being honest. I find it very uplifting when I hear people very passionate about movies, and you hear the stories and how they got into a movie, and I love it. I absolutely love that. Great choices. Robocop as well. You can't go wrong. Robocop, excellent choice. Again, another one that's been discussed today on the channel. Superb choice. And I think as well, Class of 1984 is one I've not heard of before, but one I will most certainly be checking out, because Mike really seems to like that movie, so I'm definitely going to give that a watch. But that is it. That is the all the special guest co-hosts for today's special episode of Movie Cheer Fest for the headline topic. That was, first of all, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone. Everyone who has taken part and took time out to film a video. Huge thank you. I will leave a link in the bio to everyone's YouTube, Instagrams. Thank you very much to everyone involved. I really do appreciate it. It's so cool to have such kind people involved in this special guest episode, and I love it. Whenever we do these episodes, it's always great to see the different collaborators involved, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, 80s movies. It is a great era. It's a great era of movies for music. 80s had great music, great soundtracks, great movies, great TV shows. It is probably, I think it is my favourite era. That's why I wanted to explore it today for the headline topic of Movie Cheer Fest 2. I think it's been a really great topic. I think it's been great hearing everyone's different choices of movies, their favourite movies, and I've really enjoyed hearing everyone's input on these topics today, and on the different movies from the 80s that they love, and it is really great. So again, massive thank you to everyone involved. I'm not going to name everyone again because I'll probably end up forgetting someone. I'm awful with names. I'll end up missing off someone. So I just want to say, yeah, thank you everyone involved. I really appreciate it. Now let's move on to the next segment of today's show.
Case covers take on other case covers. Can you handle that?
Case cover collision. Case cover collision.
Case cover collision. Each and every episode I choose a different movie and look at the different case covers for that movie and put them up against each other on case cover collision to find out which one is the best. And on today's episode of Case Cover Collision, I will be looking at the movie Blade. It's got an upcoming 4K Steelbook release in December, and I just thought with recent movie appearances from Wesley Snipes' Blade, let's talk about the movie, let's talk about the case covers. First of all, I think it is an excellent movie. But that opening scene in Blade, when he's going in that nightclub, it is phenomenal. Great movie. Wesley Snipes is great in that movie. Total badass. Cracking movie. And it's, it's weird to think that it's now, that was releasing, I think it's 1998. So it's a movie that's been out for quite some time, but still, I don't think it's aged. I think it's, sorry, I do think it's aged really well. I think it's a movie that feels like at this moment in time, like a timeless movie. Such a great film. Really enjoyable. So let's look at the different case covers. So we've got a 4K Steelbook, a 4K standard. We've got the Blu-ray and a DVD to look at today. Let's look at these case covers, and we're going to start off with the new 4K Steelbook release of this coming out in December. Out for pre-order now. I will leave a link in the bio. First of all, let's look at this. So on this front cover, you've got Wesley Snipes. It's a long shot of him, and he's looking, it's a side-on shot, him looking up into the distance. And it's a very much like a black background, and then it's like these the red sort of like blade of his knife, different blade marks in red, obviously to simulate blood, because he, of this movie, the vampires in this movie. And basically, it's a great cover. He's got the big blade in his hand as well, looking up to the sky bit, and you've got like that highlight of red on his face as well. And then in the middle, you've got across his body the text of Blade in this white font, very large, Over that, Wesley Snipes' name, and then Stephen Dorff, who plays the villain in this, underneath that. Great. The logo really stands out here. It drops with the black and red background, and then the white. It really works well. I think there's a really good cover as well. It looks like a horror movie. This is very much a horror superhero action movie, and I think it works really well. I think it's a really good cover. I like the look of this steelbook. It's a solid look and a very different look from the other Blade covers we've got over the years. I really like this. So a really solid cover for this 4K steelbook. Now let's move on to the standard 4K. Now, this one is a bit similar, I suppose, but it's a side-on but more of a close-up shot of Blade this time. It's kind of got a yellow tint to him, like a yellow light has been shone on him this time. It's got like a yellow tint to it, a yellow highlight. In the background though, you do get that kind of like red and black colouring, more of a red this time. Obviously, again, to simulate the blood of the vampires he's killing in this movie. But yeah, Blade, I think this is a better shot of Blade in this movie, on this particular look for this standard 4K. The tattoos look amazing. You can see visually his outfit a bit more, which looks really cool. But I think the tattoos on his head and his shoulder looks really cool. His hairstyle looks amazing. It looks so cool. He's got the glasses on. He just looks like a really tough son of a big. Blade is great, but then the yellow tint also goes over to, it's the same font and same size, but it's a bit lower in the image this time. The font's the logo for Blade, and then you got again same logo, the Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dorff featured on there again. Bit of a different cover, and there's kind of like, it looks like splatters of sort of like something in the background, like in these like yellow splatters. Whether that's meant to be, I don't know really what that is meant to be, signify. But yeah, I like this cover. I think it's a really solid cover again, and I think the look of Blade in it is great. I do think though, for me so far, the 4K steelbook is winning through. Sorry. I think it's a much better cover. I think the red and black really makes it pop a bit more so far. So the 4K steelbook is winning so far on case cover collision. Next, let's go to the standard Blu-ray cover. This is again a very different cover. Very much it's a black background. Wesley Snipes' Blade is face on this time in a long shot, but he's like doing a pose with the blade, his sword again. And above that, you've got the same font again, but in a different style. It's more the Blade text is in like this grey sort of like gradient this time, grey and white. And then you've got Wesley Snipes and Stephen Dorff's name in red. And again, it doesn't pop as much as the other logos, I will say, on this one. I think the white would have popped a bit more. And then you get like these, I think it's like, must be tattoos potentially. I'd have to watch the movie again to kind of like understand what is in the background behind Blade. It's like these symbols. It looks like the tattoos potentially, or something on his blade. I feel bad that I've not rewatched this just to find out for this episode. But yeah, but I do like this cover. I think it's good. It looks very much like a 90s cover though, this. I would say. It reminds me of something like The Crow. Very similar to like a vibe to like a Crow on this cover. I do like it. But it is a bit basic, if I'm being honest. It looks like a 90s movie cover, really. It does look a bit basic. So even though I do like this cover, it is not winning through for me so far on case cover collision. Next up, we go for the classic DVD case cover. It was the DVD, the VHS. The one I've got in my room, I've got it on display currently in the movie room. And this is like, it's an orange background. You've got the eyes in the background. I think maybe it's Stephen Dorff's character or like a vampire of some sort. It says here, fast, funky, fun, and fang-tastic. What a pun. Blade underneath. It's a different font this time. Wesley Snipes above it in white. Blade in this grey gradient again. Stephen Dorff's name underneath. Blade is front and centre, very much like a mid shot. And I always thought when I saw this cover, how huge Wesley Snipes' Blade looks. He looks super jacked up on this image. He looks massive. He's got like that overcoat on, and then you see in his hand underneath the blade, his sword. I kind of only just noticed that today for the first time. He actually has the sword in his hand as well. But he looks like a beast in this. He looks like he is built. I remember seeing this cover as a kid and just thinking, wow. Like, I didn't really know what the movie was about before I watched it, and I was like, that guy looks like a machine. He looks like a wrestler. He looks massive. But yeah, it's a classic cover. I really do like this cover, and I do what I think would be better though here. I think the logo of Blade, having that other logo, what's been used in the other ones would be better. But I do love the image. I think it pops. It looks scary, but it looks, you know who the protagonist is here in Blade. He's just like a badass. And it says here, the power of an immortal, the soul of a human, the heart of a hero. Sums up Blade. Great cover, this DVD. But which one is the winner of this episode of Case Cover Collision? I've got to go with the 4K Steelbook, this new release that's coming up. I think it is a solid case cover. I love the logo. The logo really pops in this for me as well. I think the logo is such an important thing here with this one. Really pops. I think the background is subtle, but it really works with the red and the black. And to see Wesley Snipes in there doing a pose, looking up into the distance, you really get a good look at Blade. It's a great cover. So the 4K Steelbook wins on this episode of Case Cover Collision. Now let's move on to the next segment of today's show.
The Amazon Top 10 is approaching. Prepare yourself. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Amazon Top 10 has arrived.
The Amazon Top 10. Each and every episode, I give you the Amazon Top 10, the bestsellers list for Amazon.co.uk for DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks. Now, this week, let's go to it. We've got, first of all, number 10, Aliens on 4K. At number 9, we have Back to the Future, The Ultimate Trilogy on 4K. At number 8, we have Furiosa on DVD. At number 7, we have Dune Part 2 on Blu-ray. At number 6, we have Furiosa on Blu-ray. At number 5, we have Guest House Paradiso Limited Edition Blu-ray. The bottom, I think, is a live special, I think it is. At number 4, we have Late Night with the Devil Limited Edition Blu-ray. I've still not seen that. One I'm definitely going to be checking out. At number 3, we have Pirates of the Caribbean 1 to 5 on Blu-ray. At number 2, we have the Blur Witch Project Limited Edition Blu-ray. And at number 1, we have Blake's 7, The Collection, Series 1 on Blu-ray. That's the Amazon Top 10 for this week. And now let's move to the final segment of today's show, which is Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping. This is kind of just a end chit-chat for the show, just talking about what's going on in Movie Cheer Town, what's going on with the channel, and just a general easing out chit-chat for the end of the show. So first of all, I just want to say... again, big thank you to everyone involved in today's Movie Cheer Fest 2. This is such a special episode, a huge, probably one of the biggest collaborations on the channel so far. If I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. I think it's probably the biggest one we've done, and it's so cool to get all these different people involved, and it's nice to see, because like I said, over the years, I had different people involved and people who've obviously come back and done several different episodes and different collaborations over the years. And I would genuinely say this: everyone who I've collaborated with on the channel over the years and on today's episode really have become real good friends over the years, and it's really nice to build them friendships and over movies and your shared passions. And it's so nice to see people taking time out of the day to film a video. I know some people might think, oh, you're just getting on the video, but it's, it takes a lot. Sometimes you've got to set it all up, you've got to prepare yourself, and it does take a lot. And I really appreciate people take the time out to watch and to also to collaborate on these videos. And so I really do, I'm very appreciative of people taking the time out to watch and also to join this collaboration and to send a video in. I really do appreciate it. And thank you again. I appreciate all of you for being involved in today's special Movie Cheer Fest event. And let's see, I will say, I've had a great time doing it. Really great time. Movie Cheer, what are we going to do for the future? What's going on? We did the last Movie Cheer Fest. The first one was, I think it was in 2022, so it's about 2 years. So I think it has a nice ring to do it. It's kind of like every 2 years. I was going to say the Olympics, but that's like every 4 years, isn't it? But I think every 2 years now, because I don't like doing too many collaborations on the channel, because I think sometimes it's nice just to do them every so often. It makes them more special. So I think maybe every 2 years, Movie Cheer Fest. So Movie Cheer Fest 3. I'm getting tongue tied here. Movie Cheer Fest 3 will definitely happen. I think in probably 2026 potentially. We'll do another one, maybe 2025. We'll see how it goes for next year. We might even do it next year. See how things go, but who knows? Topics, 90s movies, 2000s movies, I think 2000s movies would be an interesting one to go to for the next collaboration for Movie Cheer Fest 3. But let me know your ideas. What are your thoughts? What topics would you like to see on Movie Cheer Fest 3? But yeah, I love doing these episodes. I think it's really fun. A few things going on. Movie Cheer Town. I am going to be taking a 2-week break. I'm going to take 2 weeks off after this episode because I thought it's a big episode. I thought it'd be nice to sign it off and take a week or two off. I'm actually going away in a week or two as well. Only doing like a night away or so, and doing a few of the little things as well. So I thought I'm going to take a 2-week break from YouTube, from social media. I've seen this with Sammy G recently. He's been doing like these breaks from social media, and I spoke to another friend of mine who also did like a break and a digital detox, and I think it's a great idea. If I'm being honest, it's nice to just have a little break from things every so often. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take 2 weeks off. So don't be worried. The channel is there's still going to be videos after 2 weeks, but I'm going to take 2 Saturdays off, and I'll be back with some more new content to end the year on a high, and this has been a big high, if I'm being honest. So yeah, so that's what's going on in Movie Cheer Town, and that's it for another special episode, and that's it for Movie Cheer Fest 2. If you enjoyed this special episode today, please do give it a like if you're watching on YouTube, and leave a comment below. And if you're listening on a podcast app of your choice, please do subscribe to the app and leave a 5-star review, and let me know your review, and I will read it out on the show. Big thank you again to everyone involved in today's special event episode, Movie Cheer Fest 2, the 80s edition. It has been great to have everyone on board for this episode. It's been such a great time. And let me know all your thoughts on everyone's movie picks for today's show. What are some of your favourite 80s movies from different genres? Whose picks did you enjoy the most? Let me know your verdicts on 80s movies and the 80s decade in general. Is it your favourite decade of movies? Let me know your thoughts, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer. And as always, I will see you next time. And thank you to everyone for joining us all for Movie Cheer Fest 2. I was going to say rock on, but I need to do it with the normal sign-off, don't I? Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer sphere. No, hang on. I can't even say it. This is awful. This is an awful sign-off. Let's start again. We're going to rewind. I'm not even editing any of this out. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of Movie Cheer Fest cheer. That's the one. And as always, I will see you next time.